Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I gotta address Mr. Keep It a Buck comments since he had so much to say this morning. Listen, one thing I learned is when you attack something people love the most, they get up in arms, right? Give you an example of what I mean. Now, all of this is brought out. You remember I told y'all, I said, look, soon as I speak on these shoes, you're going to have everybody down in my comment section, right? Now, this guy, I'm assuming what I said went over his head, so I'm going to break it down just a little bit more. There was other people also in those same comments. This is what they said. One guy was saying, I've noticed when people talk about material things, it's normally because they can't afford it. And this one guy proceeds to tell me that, he's retired military. He have his own line business. His wife is high up in the military. Blah 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 blah. But see, when you speak to the majority. You don't speak to the minority. All right. It all boils down to being able to afford the pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes. Your average pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes, I want to say around, but probably $300. And this is what I was saying. These guys got so up in arms. Yes, there is people that can run out and buy 4 or 5 pair of these Michael Jordan tennis shoes, and it don't affect the bottom line for what they're doing, right? But if we're gonna be honest, the majority of people that are buying these shoes are living just above the poverty line, right? Now, what is the average salary for somebody in America? The average salary ranges from $50,000 to $85,000, and that $50,000 to $80,000 is telling me a lot, right? Because, like I've explained before, not the minority. See, the 2 guys that's commenting about these shoes, they're probably making over 6 figures. That's fine. But this is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand. The average person that is buying these Michael Jordan tennis shoes do not have stocks in Nike. Like, for instance, if we go back and look at all the videos of everybody that's standing in line for these doggone shoes. Because, see, average pair of shoes, $300. Only thing I said was, each time you buy a pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes, put $3,000 to the side. Like, man, shoes $300, I'm gonna put $3,000 to the side. Another pair come out, they $300, I'm gonna put another $3,000 to the side. The problem is, a lot of people that's buying these shoes, they don't have $10,000 saved. They don't own their own home. They're spending their money on frivolous, stupid, crazy stuff. Yes, there's nothing wrong with buying things that you have worked hard for. Only thing I'm saying, don't let your grind be in vain. That's now I've just addressed the military guy. That was the military guy I wanted to address. He was saying, people buy stuff and people who really want to buy it can't afford it. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, let's get to Mr. Keep It a Buck. See, I struck a chord with him when I started talking about these Michael Jordan tennis shoes. He proceeds to say, y'all read the comments, he can't afford it. Yeah, if he buy 7 pair, if he go buy 7 pair of Jordans for his whole family, that'd be $1,400. You really think I can't buy my family a pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes? That's what y'all think. I just choose to spend my money elsewhere with Michael Jordan tennis shoes. I remember years ago, right, I was working with this guy on this job. This was around like 2008. And I remember this guy saying, because I used to always be like, man, overtime, because the more hours you work, the bigger your paycheck will be. And I remember him saying, he was saying it to me and all the other guys, like doing lunch, we'd all huddle up and eat lunch together. He would always say, man, y'all gotta learn how to do more than one thing. Y'all gotta learn how to do more than one thing instead of depending on these people for overtime. And I remember when he would walk off, guys would be like, man, he always talking about that learn how to do more than one thing crap. He out here with us. He worked the overtime with us. He need to be preaching to himself. He poor like us. He just running his mouth. Deep down inside, blah, blah, blah. This went on for about like a year. All right. Then that guy left the job and went and got another job somewhere else. And I remember he would always say, learn how to do more than one thing and stop depending on people. So, and he would always tell me this. He would tell me this, and then he'd tell the other guys that was around. But like I say, didn't nobody really want to hear it. I don't remember why I left off. I had to put my kids on the bus. But he would always say that, right? Learn how to do more than one thing. Don't depend on these people. He would always say stuff like that, right? And everybody would talk about him. Well, and I remember he called me like 3 years later. He said, get what you got going. I had jumped on another job, and on this job I was making about $1,400 a week. It was like back in 2014 or something. And I remember telling him, I said, bro, I'm out here making $1,400 a week. These folks love me. I'm getting all the overtime I want, blah, blah, blah. And this is what he told me. I'll never forget it. He said, Gibson, he said, you will always be poor if the only thing you're doing is chasing hours to get a bigger paycheck. He said, and you might be saving money at the moment. He said, but remember, you're in a poor state of mind. You're in you have a poor man's mentality instead of an abundant mentality. He said, right now, your whole focus and being is getting 70 to 80 hours a week on that job so you can get a bigger paycheck. I said, man, ain't that what it's about? Making more money? He said, yeah, making more money is it. He said, but the way you're making money. He said, right now you trading all your time for money. He said, which is fine for a few seasons. He said, but if you're not investing in nothing, then you would never be nothing. And I pondered on it. All right. Well, long story short, years prior, when he was telling us to learn how to do more than one thing, stop spending money on foolish stuff, educate yourself, and don't depend on nobody, he had just received the knowledge himself, and he was spreading it to others. But others were so offended by what he was saying that they couldn't hear him. So, long story short, around this time when he was feeding us all this information, he had just bought his first rental property, and he taught himself how to go in there to do carpentry work, roofing work, plumbing work, and electrical work, right? He taught himself a lot of this stuff, and he had just bought his first property. So when he finished that first property, rented it out, he went out of town, started making big money on the road. And that's what a lot of people do. You got a lot of welders that work out of town, make like $3,000 a week. They never get rich, but somehow they always find a way to have nothing. Because I'm working with a guy right now. He's been making $3,000, $4,000 a week for the past 10 years. And the only thing he got to show for it is a mortgage and a $1,200 car note. He told me himself, only thing he have saved up is $13,000. His wife have a job, and he have 2 sons. And the only thing you have after 10 years of running up and down the road is a new vehicle, a ridiculous house that you barely could afford, and $13,000 cash. And this is what he said out of his mouth. He said, he said, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I've been living. He said, man, I done took several trips out of the country, He said, man, I got jewelry, clothes, watches. He said, man, I got everything. He said, but I messed up because all that was foolish. He said, now my next 10-year run is going to be to invest. See, nobody never gave him the knowledge. And when I speak on these Michael Jordan tennis shoes, Mr. Keep It a Buck, because I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'm going to keep it a buck. Mr. Keep It a Buck, he maybe can afford the Michael Jordan tennis shoes. He may have $50,000 saved. He may have each pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes he may have equivalent to $3,000 put back. He may just could afford it. But you're not going to tell me the majority of people that is buying these shoes, they can afford the $300. They don't have 10 grand put to the side. They're not buying their own home. They don't have nothing in investments, nothing in stocks, and they don't have a business. They just have a job. This is what I say. When you speak on these things, it go over a lot of people's head, and then they get offended, and they don't even know what they're talking about. And also, Mr. Keep It a Buck, he says, I've been watching Gibson for a long time, and he's a hater. See, if you've been watching me for a long time, you've been watching me, but you haven't been hearing me because you haven't been listening. You've been watching to critique. And that's what happens. Everything I'm saying is going over your head and you don't understand. And then this is what always gets me. People will always say, yeah, see, he messed up by having all them kids. And see, you sat down and let your job define how big your family can get, because you don't have the hustler spirit, the hustler's mentality, because you have a poor man's mindset. Being poor is a state of mind. It's not about your finances. When we get down to finances, yeah, I'm poor financially, but I'm rich mentally. As I told you, I will be well off in the future because I already see what it takes to get there. And I'm trying to educate the people that watch these videos to get there. And I knew when I spoke on those Michael Jordan tennis shoes, it was going to strike a nerve. And that's what it did. It exposed a lot of y'all for what you truly believe, Mr. Keep It a Buck. See, he also stated, he have a business that he got to get a job to support. Listen, just like the other guy, jumped in my comments about he been on this job for 20-something years and he making $128,000. Look, if the other guy fine with $128,000 a year, that's cool. I'm not fine with that. As I stated before, my business does 6 figures without a job. And as I said before again, it don't matter how much money I have saved. Why would I sit here and do this in the winter? Why would I just sit here and do this? I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to sit still. That's not in me. But if you would calm down and listen to what I'm saying instead of watching to critique, you would agree with me. Now, bro, this is really ridiculous, us standing in line for some Michael Jordan tennis shoes. This is really ridiculous. We're buying these shoes to support the Jordan family who don't care nothing about us. There's nothing wrong with buying the shoes, but it's crazy to stand in line 5 hours. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a Jordan fan. You can't just order them online and have them sent to your house. I can say I don't know how the whole thing works, but I just know it's not worth standing in line fighting over them. I never understood that one. But here's what I want you to do. I'm challenging you, Mr. Keep It a Buck. Because like I say, it's normally the guys with 2 first names that got a lot to say. I want you to post a YouTube video on that videoless YouTube channel you have and explain to the people, whether it be black, white, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Spanish, don't even matter. Explain to the people what is it they need to do with their money besides buying Michael Jordan tennis shoes. Because I already told you, there's nothing wrong with buying the shoes. But what are you doing around you buying the shoes? What have you accomplished? And that's what Keep It a Buck. Mr. Keep It a Buck. Gibson, what have you accomplished with your poor business? See, I have woken up and understood that it is stupid working for somebody else. So in the midst of me gaining the knowledge and learning it's stupid working for somebody else, I have to in turn run my business and go get the paycheck from Mr. Charlie, take the money I get from Mr. Charlie, turn around and reinvest it back into myself. That's what I've learned. And then people will say, well, how you gonna build a business then you have employees? Are they stupid? Yeah, they is. Yeah, they is. Because it is stupid to give your life to me when you can go do the same thing. And a lot of people are not going to admit that. Why come work for Gibson's Lawn Service for 30 years when you can go do it yourself? You can go and do it yourself. Well, man, we're going to say this video and it's going to bite you in the end. It ain't going to bite me in the end. Because I've stated before. I've stated it before. Insecure people make the best employees. They make the best employees. And all you got to do is pay an insecure man well, and he'll never leave you. Yeah. Now, I'm going to let you stay, keep it a buck with them paragraphs you wrote me. But look, I got to go run my poor business. Catch y'all on the next one.